Coming at you from FreeAdvice.com, we are tackling all the current topics, legal, insurance related, specifically auto insurance. Today we're talking about car seat safety, and if you are going to be carting around young passengers, make sure that your auto insurance coverage is up to date, it has not lapsed, and also make sure you're getting the coverage that you need. Please code up FreeAdvice.com, use our auto insurance comparison tool. It's so simple and it's convenient, and the quotes will come directly to you. So, car seat laws, why are they important? Well, they are important because states are updating them. So, as new information, as new studies come out, states are starting to comply with best practice regulations. So, Minnesota in particular updated their car seat safety laws. And when we're talking about laws, the typical terminology for car seat laws is child passenger restraint laws or statutes. So first of all, before we get to Minnesota and their changes, let's look at California to get a good idea of what a typical child passenger safety law looks like. Children under 2 years of age shall ride in a rear-facing, I'm getting this from over here, car seat unless the child weighs 40 or more pounds or is 40 or more inches tall. This terminology is important because it's either or. Children are 2 years old, or say you have an 18-month-old that is 40 pounds or 40 inches tall, you can graduate them up to that forward-facing restraint system. Now, children under the age of 8 must be in a car seat or booster in the back seat. Okay, pretty generic terms there. And then children 8 years old or have reached 4'9", there's that or word again, may be secured in a booster seat, but at minimum must be secured by a safety belt. That would be your seat belt right there. Okay. Now, for an example, let me draw your attention to Florida law. This is what the law actually looks like. Okay. Pretty technical terminology, pretty complex sentences, but that's important because it's legal. And anytime you get into the legal realm, you have to be specific in your terminology. That's where loopholes come in. So, thankfully, Florida has a synopsis of how to read their safety laws. Now, they give the reasons why they have these laws for their state and their important reminders at the beginning. Then they get down to what it actually states. Florida law requires the use of seatbelts or child restraint devices by drivers of motor vehicles, all front seat passengers and children under the age of 18. Okay, so they clarified this is for everybody. Then we have the age specifications. Florida law requires age 5 and under to be in a properly crash-tested, federally approved child restraint system. Now, I want to point out, every car seat on the shelf in America has been federally tested. It doesn't matter. Price tag does not matter as far as meeting the federal standard. That's important because just because you're spending over $200 on a car seat doesn't make that car seat safer. Okay? All of the car seats, even the cheap ones on the shelf in America, have met that federal standard. However, when you purchase online, that's where things can get a little dicey, because if you're purchasing from other countries and you're not actually sure the true make, there are fraudulent car seat manufacturers that tack other people's companies onto their car seats. So if you want to do a deep dive there, if you're buying online from a shady company, just know that you should check that car seat once you receive it to make sure it fits and it's not a fake. Because all the ones in America that are sold in America, that are on the shelf in America, have met that federal approval, okay? So Florida, you see, you can browse this for yourself. Let's get to the Minnesota. So Minnesota has updated their safety laws as of August 1st, 2024. So birth to at least 2 years old need to be rear-facing in an infant or convertible child safety seat. That is totally in compliance with the American Academy of Pediatrics, who over and over again have emphasized the safety of rear-facing. They advise rear-facing up until the child is ready to sit forward-facing with a seatbelt, okay? I mean, they would have adults riding rear-facing. They would advise that is simply the safest way to ride in a vehicle, okay? Now, this is where Minnesota has kind of bucked the system, the typical either-or terminology. Notice, in order to graduate to that next standard, the next standard is forward-facing 5-point harness, okay? The child must be at least 2 years old and outgrown the rear-facing seat with internal harness by height or weight. So that means you may have a 3-year-old on your hands, a petite 3-year-old that has not met the weight or height restrictions on your car seat. They must be rear-facing. They must be the age limit and that size limit. Then they graduate to forward-facing, but notice the terminology, with an internal harness. We're not talking forward-facing booster where you use a seatbelt. Forward-facing with internal harness, that's that 5-point harness system. In order to move out of that 5-point harness system, the child needs to be 4 years of old and outgrown forward-facing seat with internal harness by height or weight. So once again, we have the and requirement, age and height and weight. They will ride restrained at that point in a belt positioning booster or the lap and shoulder belt. Okay, so 4 years old and above, then we have a booster while using the lap belt, okay? So still has to have an external system, a booster seat, high back booster or low, just no back booster. Still in a booster until 9 years old, must be. Then the 9-year-old who has outgrown the booster and passes the 5-step test. So even if an 8-year-old can pass that 5-step test, no, still needs to be in a booster. Then they need to demonstrate that it fits correctly. It hits all the right points that will protect that child's body and restrain it properly. Then they can ride restrained with a lap belt or shoulder belt secured correctly in a vehicle. Additionally, children under 13 years old must sit in the back seat if possible. Some vehicles do not have a back seat, so that's where the if possible comes into play. Now, this is what I was trying to get at. They state it for us. If a child falls into more than one category, then the child must be placed in a safer restraint for them. So they always have to be safer and safer and safer, always err on the side. So a 2.5-year-old that is small, not up to the weight requirement, has to be rear facing. So let me take you. So remember, I'm coming at you from FreeAdvice.com. We make insurance easy to navigate, and we have comparison tools that make the whole getting the best rate simple. You put in your information once and the providers send you their quotes. Now, going back to the car seat safety, I want to draw your attention to Graco because they're just a general, widely used car seat. Their infant car seats, that would be their rear-facing car seats, are 4 to 35 pounds and up to 32 inches. So if you are purchasing this car seat, until your child maxes out that 35-pound limit and 32-inch limit, they will be rear-facing in that car seat. So know that when you're purchasing a car seat in Minnesota. So this is all Minnesota specific. Not every state has these requirements. However, there are reasons why Minnesota has gone with these requirements. Now, convertible car seats, those are the rear facing or forward facing 5-point harness system, 4 to 65 pounds. So if your 4-year-old is not 65 pounds yet, they will be in that internal harness, that 5-point harness, until they reach that requirement. Now, the all-in-ones, that usually refers to the car seats that you can physically alter to meet the specifications. But I say that because their booster seat clearly goes up to 120 pounds. So if you purchase this seat, Minnesota law would say that child will be in that seat till they are 120 pounds. They need to max out the car seat and up to 57 inches. So the height also plays into effect because the child's head has to be in a proper positioning for the headrest or the car seat. So if your child is taller than the vehicle's headrest, that is clearly not safe as well. So why is this important? Well, legally it's important because the violation of these laws can be, I'm going to Car Seats Made Simple. It's a generic website that gives you just straightforward information on car seat law. So I'm on the Minnesota law page, and notice this. The punishment for not complying with this law is a petty misdemeanor fine, $50. So yes, $50 is significant, but also that petty misdemeanor is significant. And this also comes into play if you are facing custody battles. And it is true in any state that non-compliance with child passenger safety restraint laws can be considered child endangerment, child neglect. So it's important to know what you're dealing with when you're talking about passenger laws and complying and what's truly at stake. So we have an article on FreeAdvice.com that specifically addresses child endangerment. So we have a law specifically on FreeAdvice.com that talks about child endangerment and what the penalty for that could be, okay? Browse that. But I also want to bring this back to what's more at stake. So yes, legal terminology, custody battles, fines, misdemeanors, yes, that's all threatening. But the bigger picture is your child's safety, or the child of if you're a regular driver of any child. It doesn't have to be your own child. If this child is in your vehicle consistently, you are responsible for their safety. And the American Academy of Pediatrics has so many statistics on safety and what's at stake. What's at stake is the child's death or significant injury that will affect them for their entire life. So it's easy to complain about these laws or, think that it's government overstep, but on paper, they are looking out for the safety of the child. And the Minnesota new laws, even the California laws, there are a lot of states that have fewer laws, fewer expectations, okay? If you're really worked up, just move to the freer state, and we look at that as freer. But notice that all these states that have these strict requirements are in compliance with the recommendation of the American Academy of Pediatrics. And you can read article after article about what the impact is of not properly restraining your child in the seat. So check out FreeAdvice.com. Check out our auto insurance comparison tool. If you are just entering the stage of getting car seats, if you are at the stage of transitioning to a new car seat, all of this vehicle safety stuff is fresh on your mind. It's also a good time to reevaluate your insurance and make sure it's fitting your needs, make sure it's fitting your price point. So head over to FreeAdvice.com and head over to this channel for more videos on topics that pertain to you. If you have a topic that you want covered, please mention it in the comments. We love to get comments. If this has been helpful to you, write a comment, give us a like. Thank you for your time.